am I sharing? I think I'm sharing.
You are sharing.
Okay. Now, one of our members, this photo, are you on the call? Whose is it? But I think it's pretty spectacular. You're muted, Sally.
Oh, I just muted her. I apologize.
You may have to unmute Sally because you got muted by Amanda.
Yeah, I'm going through and muting everybody preemptively. I apologize. She should be able to unmute any second.
Yeah, we received so many photos for the photo contest for the cover of the directory. I've lost track. We probably received 50 photos. So I'm in the process of downloading all of those, and we'll send them to Lucy and Julie Bird. And we won't be able to decide. We're going to have to post most of those. We'll put them inside the directory so everybody can see. We have some fabulous photographers out there. So, and we thought we'd do a member photo site on our new website. So, but this was the first one I received, and isn't it beautiful?
It is. Okay, so wanted to go through a few things here. Why is it not doing? Terrific. Something's wrong. Hold on. All right, something happened to my presentation. I won't panic. Hold on. I'm just going to close it and try again. Okay. Oh, Lord, I did screw it up. Okay, well, now I just have to make it up. When I put the bee picture in, I apparently changed the formatting of everything.
Oh no.
I know. Anyway, I just wanted to have a minute to talk about the educational conference and have some pictures, maybe, of that. And Laura Meals did, we got a final report out on the grant that the Master Gardener Society of Oakland County gave out last year. And I want to go through that, and then we'll have George Papadelis give us our presentation. Now, on this one too, my words are gone, so that's sad. But we had our conference, and I thought it went well. And Betty, did you want to give us some more information on it?
Yeah.
These pictures that were taken during the event. Go ahead.
Yeah, we held our conference on April 17th. We had 257 tickets were sold. And those of us that were there at the TV station, I think we had a lot of fun doing it. And I think we had a lot of very good comments by email. I haven't seen the evaluations yet. We will be going over them next week at our conference meeting. We are trying, at this point in time, we are planning to try to do an in-person conference next year. We are trying to get the Oakland Conference Center for April 30th in 2022. I had a email communication with Vanessa. They still haven't started scheduling anything yet, but we are on a wait list. So she will let me know when things open up. But if we are going to do an in-person conference, we will be needing more volunteers to lead subcommittees, because we have a lot more stuff going on in person. We will be starting to probably hold our meeting sometime in August, September to plan for next year. So if you're interested in being on the conference team, I think the group we have a great group, and I think we certainly can use anybody that's interested. Please either, drop me an email or give me a phone call and let me know. And as of right now, we tentatively have 2 speakers booked for next year. Carrie Ann Mendez is very interested in coming and speaking to us again. And also Jessica Walliser is interested in coming back. She has just published a new book out on, I think it's companion plantings. And she's very interested in coming back again. And I remember when she came and talked about the beneficial bugs, that she was a wonderful speaker. So I think everybody will enjoy her. And like I said, we're looking for volunteers to be on the conference team for next year. And we'll probably be meeting sometime in August, September to start working forward with our plans for next year. And that's all I have, Lucy.
Okay, and so just a couple of notes about the pictures that are here. You can see that they did everything sitting in front of a green screen, and then we've got Bowers Farm behind them by magic, right, Sally?
Yeah, it was magic.
But they were also trying to learn how to read from teleprompters while they were at it, and then we had Amanda running the show in the booth at the back. So it was real good. And this was Ian Locke, and he was the guy at Orion Neighborhood Television who worked with the team to make it possible. So and I don't think I ever met that guy, but I'm sure he was essential to have there that day. Huh?
He was.
So I wanted to report out for Laura. Last year, Laura handled the grant applications and deciding which group would get a grant. We had a grant that we gave to Neighborhood House, which was, yeah, I think it's in, look at that, I didn't write down where it is. That's embarrassing. But I think they're in Rochester somewhere. I don't know, Sally's gonna rush to my rescue and tell me where they're from. But
Lucy, yes, Neighborhood House is located in Rochester.
okay, thank you. So they've been working for the last 50 years trying to make sure that everybody has the food that they need to get by. And I guess they have better luck getting the non-perishable foods, but to get stuff that's fresh and tasty is a special treat for them. And one of the things that they do is they have this garden. Well, their whole raised garden bed stuff was going to wherever in a handbasket. And they asked for some help to refurbish the bed and get things going. And so they used our grant of $1,000 and neighborhood volunteers to be able to install all new garden beds. And last year they provided 195,000 meals to over 600 households. So they just wanted, they put it together in a nice report, and they really thanked us for making that possible. So I just wanted to share that with the group here so that you knew what was going on with some of the money that we gathered. Okay, let's see, I've got oh, Sally, the next one's yours. On
I
Bowers
just want to
Farm.
make a comment about grant requests for this year. We've received one from the group that works at the Detroit Zoo and another one from Gilda's Club. So I just forwarded those applications to Beth and Julie Fromm, who are the other part of the grant committee now. So we'll be reviewing those for future reference and deciding who will get a grant from us. Bowers Farm is really handicapped this year because of the lack of volunteers, because we can't record our hours, and it's been so cold. I actually canceled tomorrow morning because we had 2 team leaders that couldn't be there, and so we're hoping we can recruit more volunteers to come out. On Wednesdays we're there, except tomorrow. On Wednesdays we're there from 9 a.m. to noon, And on Saturdays, Beth Brown leads that group from 8:30 to 11:30. So Channel 7 is going to come out and do a special on Bowers Farm, and a segment will be about the Master Gardener dedication to the farm. So if you have nothing to do on a Wednesday or Saturday morning, come out and help us clean out those gardens, and hopefully it warms up a little bit so they look good for Channel 7.
All right, so it's right here, guys. It's just at 19 Mile and Adams Road. So it's here at the exit ramp of I-75. So now you know where it is, and you should come out. You can find more information about the Bowers Farm and the projects on the Bowers Farm subpage of our webpage.
On our website, yeah, we just put up all new information about volunteering there this year, so check that out.
All right. Any news on George?
Not yet, unless he's this mysterious person that just signed on, which I'm doubtful that that's the case.
But that'd be nice.
Yeah, so
So George apparently lost his mind, and
in his defense, it's busy.
now he's racing for his computer, and again, just as quickly as he can.
I'm pretty sure he's giving this same presentation to another group right before and right after this, because I had invitations to them.
Well, when I talked to him, he was doing plant business, moving things around. So I know that this is kind of plant business season, and I'm grateful that he takes time to talk to us. So just gets wrapped up, I think. But
So I was thinking, Sally, if this is going to be a bit of a delay here, if you wanted to drag out those photos.
oh, actually, I got a George, so he should be
Oh,
with
wait.
us momentarily. So
They're not ready, Sally? Probably
No.
not.
Got them downloaded to my computer. There's so many, so I
Okay.
don't have anything to show you.
let's see.
Hello,
Hello, George. How are you today?
Yay.
I'm okay.
Just in time.
Just in time, really?
Yeah, we just ended
Pretty
our
much.
general business. So
Okay.
when you get a second to turn your video on and share your screen, we are ready for you.
So George is going to be talking to us about annuals and perennials for 2021. All right, I'm going to take my video off so it doesn't distract.
Yeah, and that's a reminder to everybody else too, if you could please turn your video off and mute yourself during the presentation. Once we get to the end of the presentation, feel free to turn yourself back on, and video and audio and all that, and you can ask questions. There will be the availability to use chat to ask questions, but we will probably hold most of those questions until the end unless it's dire to answer them in the moment. Otherwise, go ahead and
Am I
take it
already,
away.
am I sharing my screen yet?
Not yet. I just see your
Okay.
picture right now,
Okay.
George.
I am now, right?
Yep, now you are sharing.
Excellent, excellent.
So you
Okay.
are in charge now.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Sorry, I forgot about you guys temporarily. I remember this morning, and then I had all these crazy things going on tomorrow, and I was trying to get ahead, so I was over at the Shelby store. I'm going to go over some of the new annuals and some of the new perennials for 2021. One thing that you should know that's a little bit different this year compared to other years is that the forum, the place where I go to see all the new annuals and the new perennials, well, not all of them, but a lot of them, is the California Spring Trials, which is typically late March or early April of every year. And last year, in 2020, well after I had booked my flights and made arrangements to go to the California Spring Trials, it was canceled. So a lot of the new varieties that I saw were over at Walters on the west side of the state, and a few of the trial gardens in different parts of the country, some in Michigan, some in Chicago, some in Ohio. The good news is the California Spring Trials for 2021, where I'll see all the new plants for 2022, are going to be happening next month. It's no longer called the Spring Trials. Now it's called the Summer Trials. So, and I did notice that there are a few less stops this year. Hopefully that trend will discontinue and things will be back to normal. But So I'll be able to see all the new plants and take pictures live the way I usually do. But so we'll go ahead and get started. I want to show you a few things that are new at Telly's, and then I'm going to do a quick recap of the things that were really popular that were new in 2020, and then we'll get into the annuals and the perennials for 2021. So I would have loved to have taken a picture of this now, but it's about a 1 acre greenhouse that we built in the wintertime. This photograph was taken, I think, in probably late January, and now this greenhouse is packed mostly with it's concreted from corner to corner, and it's mostly filled with begonias, impatiens, coleus, and on the edges where it's a little sunnier, we squeeze in a few other things like zinnias and sun patience and stuff like that. So this is COVID has been very good for the garden industry and garden center industry. So a lot of us are using the money to expand our production capability, and this is what we did at the Shelby store, at the Troy store. We did some other stuff too that's a little harder to explain, but anyway, so this has made things a lot easier for us to grow more of the stuff that you guys like. So that's one thing that's new at the Shelby location. The other thing that's been really hot, and some of you I'm sure already know about this, is houseplants are on fire. They're the millennials, the 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and even a lot of these high school, college kids, they come in with their friends and they shop and they shop and they shop for houseplants. And they're not just buying the the common snake plants and pothos and ZZ plants and stuff like that. They've developed a very sophisticated taste for super cool collectible plants. So the last few months, I've been to Florida 5 times getting plants for this new crop of, no pun intended, of gardeners that's really, really into gardening indoors on their windowsills or in their windows and on their cute little bookshelves with all these lights and stuff like that. So I think you'll find it at a lot of other garden centers too. Their houseplant selection has gone through the roof. I've got plants here that are, I've got plants that are, hundreds of dollars in a 4-inch pot that you would think is just like a little weed, but they're so rare. And then as soon as somebody finds out that we have them, they alert all their friends via social media, and then they're coming in here by the dozens, sometimes when we're not even open. So that's one thing that's been really hot lately. And so that those two things are the sort of the biggest new things going on at Telly's: houseplants, and we have increased our production capacity. One issue with the houseplants, of course, is that trying to maintain a decent selection this time of year when we're trying to fill the benches with geraniums and New Guineas and stuff like that can be a real challenge. So you'll see that going on at all the garden centers right now. We're trying to take care of 2 giant groups of people that still want a lot of plants right now. So from 2020, there was one new variety in this top hat series of begonias. So we talked about the top hat series when it was new in 2019, and then also again in 2020 when a new color was added. But this is the largest series of wax leaf begonias. Every plant grows about the size of a beach ball. It's a really, really big plant with beautiful, clean, round leaves and a really big, vibrant flower in red, pink, and white. As of 2019, with this series, the largest white blooming begonia that you could get was top hat white. Now that's changed for 2021, but back in 2019, when Top Hat came out, it was the biggest wax leaf, green leaf begonia with a white flower that you could buy. And before this was available, we used to offer a dragon wing white begonia, and that was our biggest green leaf, white flowering begonia. But we have since dropped that because of this and a new variety that we'll be seeing later. But this top hat series has been really popular for us. It replaced a whole nother series of begonias that we were offering that was big, that did not have a white flowering variety. And what was new for 2020 was a pink bicolor. So a really big flower that's white with a pink edge on a green leaf, giant growing waxleaf begonia. So that was a really big hit in 2019 and in 2020, and it will continue to be a really, really good plant for us. But there's other things going on in waxleaf begonias. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The other plant that was really big for us in 2020 that was new was these canary wing begonias, which is like a dragon wing begonia, has sort of like an upright, sort of spilling, somewhat arching growth habit with gold foliage and a almost red flower. And just like a dragon wing, it's tough, it's drought tolerant, super easy to grow, vigorous, gorgeous in our beautiful brown hanging baskets. I could even have somebody come and grab one for me and they could hold it up behind my head. I think I'll do that in a minute. But one thing about these that's different between these and dragon wing begonias is dragon wing begonias will grow in sun or shade. These will only grow in shade or partial shade. If you put them in too much sun, they kind of bleach out and then eventually burn. But in shade or partial shade, they are phenomenal plants. So I'll try to get someone to bring one over to me in the next half hour while we're doing my presentation. This is I think it's the last annual from 2020 that I wanted to show you, and it's a caladium called Burning Heart, whose color combination is really striking. It's just you're used to caladium being shades of pink and white and red, a lot of times with specks or stripes or flecks through it. This one is sort of like a burnt orange with little light salmony pink flecks through it. I think I sold more of this caladium than all of the other caladiums combined. And I didn't grow it last year. I got it from an outside supplier. I found out a month or two, maybe 2 months ago, that they weren't going to be able to supply me with any. So we grew our own, and they're just now starting to look good. So if you didn't grab any of this last year, if you didn't see it, check it out this year. It's been a pretty cool plant to work in container combinations in sun or shade. And I don't know how many of you guys know this, but not all caladiums are just for shade or partial shade. The strap leaf type caladiums, which this is one of them, will tolerate really, really bright light outdoors. In the way of perennials, there were a lot of new hibiscus from Walter's breeding last year, but the one that I think kind of stole the show was this one here called Summer Carnival. And it had all of the features of Walter's genetics from the last few years, like where they have flowers from the top of the plant down to the bottom, really vibrant colors, flowers facing out and not just haphazardly in different directions. They sort of face out from the center of the plant, overlapping petals, big flowers, vibrant colors, a more compact, clean growth habit. But the thing that separated this from the other new varieties, and even some of the new varieties for 2021 is, as you can see, this one has variegated foliage. So hibiscus won't start blooming till late July, early August, and then goes into early September. Even before this has these big, vibrant, hot pink flowers on it, you have beautiful variegated foliage. Keep in mind, hibiscus are very late to emerge in the spring, so it's not like you'd have a heck of a lot to look at right now, but a month from now, say in June, you'd have a darn good looking foliage plant. And then about a month and a half later, when this started blooming, you'd have both flowers and foliage. Like other perennial hibiscus, these die flat to the ground in the wintertime, perfectly hardy, tolerate sun or quite a bit of shade, also tolerant of somewhat wet locations, really easy to grow as long as you understand that they're one of the last things to pop up out of the ground in the spring. The other plant that was hot last year was this Indian paintbrush, a native to the Midwest called Spigelia. And Walters developed a variety called Little Redhead. This plant has these red and yellow flowers in midsummer, and they last for about 6 weeks or so. The ball of the bush of it is about 24 inches tall by 24 inches wide. By far one of our most popular new perennials in 2020. And there is a new one for 2021 that's not all that different that we'll be talking about in the perennial part of this presentation. So now we're going to jump into the new annuals for 2021, and we're going in alphabetical order as always. The very first plant on my list is Alstroemeria Bandit, and Alstroemeria Bandit is the reddest. I've got the reddest, the yellowest, and the bluest Alstroemeria we've ever offered in our assortment this year. So this is the reddest Alstroemeria we've ever offered. It's in a series that we've only scratched the surface with. And this year we kind of delved in a little bit deeper and picked up some of the other new colors. So we have all the old colors we usually have, plus a few of these new colors. So I hope you guys have all tried Alstroemeria before. I still have a few hundred left, which is wonderful. They bloom all summer long. They love sun or partial sun. They're an excellent cut flower, but the stems are short. A lot of you might know Alstroemeria is a pretty popular, taller cut flower that comes in all different colors. It's long lasting and beautiful. This, if planted in well-drained soil, early enough in the season, if it establishes a strong root system, this can often overwinter. And there is a version that is perennial that I'll show you in a little bit. We don't always have it, but we do have it again this year. But this is the new deep red. This is a new sort of multicolor one. You can see it's got like salmon, pink, yellow with those little brown flecks in it. It's called Husky. This is just a new white one called Magic. This is a new one called Lucky. And this is a new yellow one. In real life, it actually looks even more yellow than this. It's called Sundance. And this is the bluest one we've ever carried, and that's called Indigo. So I'm sure some of you have grown these plants and know how wonderful they are, and you're biting your tongue thinking, I wish I could tell everybody how much I love this plant, but you can't. So I'll just tell everybody, a lot of people that have grown this love this, and if you haven't tried it, this could really change your life. This is the Alstroemeria that was selected by Walters a few years ago. They did this big trial on the west side of the state, which is not as cold as our side of the state. It's more of a good solid zone 6, whereas we're like a 5-6. And they tried a whole bunch of Alstroemeria, and they selected a couple varieties that they said that they felt they could offer as a perennial. And this one's called Inca Ice. Now, I don't think they still offer it as a perennial, but I was able to pick it up from the original, hybridizer or breeder or whatever you want to call it. So I do have a bunch of these. It doesn't have like the really nice tight growth habit of the other ones that I showed you, the regular Alstroemeria, but it is a perennial. I've had this in my display garden for the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 years since it first became available, and it's come back every year. And unfortunately for the last several years, I've had to yank out little pieces because I didn't have any to sell on the bench. And so I was giving little pieces out of the garden. But this year we don't have to do that because we have a bunch of these growing for us. And this is what it could look like in your perennial garden. It's going to pop up out of the ground probably in May, and then start blooming for you mid-June or so, and then it'll continue through the rest of the summer till probably late August, maybe even September. And this is what it might look like flowering amongst your other perennials like daylilies and other foliage plants like peonies and hostas. So this is one of the 2 Alstroemeria that Walters selected to call perennial. The other one is called Inca Jolie, and I don't think I have that one, but I do have this one called Inca Ice. And this is what the more compact varieties look like if you could afford to put 7 or 8 of them into a big bowl out in front of your house or place of business, because they're not all that inexpensive. They're like $12 plants. So this is like $100 pot. So if you can afford that, you could have something like this in front of your house. And then in the way of begonias, there are many, many, many new begonias. Boy, that's another plant I could have somebody go grab me a sample of. I was just at the Shelby store, actually, when you guys called me to remind me that I had a talk tonight. And we have some tuberous begonias. They're from tissue culture, and they're not from seed, and they're not from tubers. So they're perfectly clean without virus and very vigorous. And the flowers are about the size of a softball. They're spectacular light pink flowers. And but that's not what we're looking at now. This is a sort of a chocolate brown leafed begonia with a really vibrant orange flower. It's called Iconia Bacio orange. And there's other begonias like this that are bred from Boliviensis type begonias. So they're very, very sun tolerant. Of course, they thrive in the shade. This, for example, is the same thing, but with a white flower, but it's also above the chocolate brown foliage. These look really pretty in hanging baskets. For those of you who are here buying baskets for Mother's Day, you know what I'm talking about. And we also offer these in cute little pots if you want to use them in a bed or in a container combination. But this series has a few colors. I'm just showing you the two that are sort of different and special. This is the other big deal in begonias for this year. The big series of begonias has been really popular the last several years. It's a very, very big green leaf begonia. It also comes in bronze, but that's not as popular. That came in red and rose and pink. And new for 2021 is the exact same thing, but with a white flower, which makes this now another option for a huge growing green leaf wax leaf begonia with a white flower. The other option, of course, is the Top Hat series, the very first begonia we discussed. So now with the big white available and Top Hat white available, we have discontinued offering the green leaf dragon wing begonia with white flowers, which really is not a dragon wing anyway. They stole it from another series because it was the biggest green leaf white begonia on the market, and they capitalized on the dragon wing name. And we dropped that for the big white and Top Hat white, which we're still offering the the baby wing bronze leaf white as a large bronze leaf white flowering begonia, but we dropped the baby wing green with the white flower. There's quite a few new Calibrachoa. Some of them have slightly improved growth habits or color combinations or whatever. So I'm not going to show you those. I'm going to show you the ones that I thought were sort of significantly different. This one's called Bumblebee Orange, which is sort of a cool tricolored orange, scarlet, and yellow flower. And this is Cabrio Sweet Peach, also with a really interesting color combination. Cali Pink Morn, Cha-Cha Diva Hot Pink. You just can't get a lot of these color combinations in petunias, so that's why Calibrachoa continue to be super popular plants, especially in hanging baskets, and really nice in container combinations. New and double blooming Calibrachoa is this one called Neo Double Plumstastic. The Plumstastics have, if you sort of look closely at this flower, I wouldn't consider it fully double. It sort of has these really big petals on the outside and then more clustered petals on the inside and bicolored flowers. There are other tastics available, like orange tastic and pink tastic, that are obviously orange and pink. This one's plumtastic, and you can see it's got bicolored flowers that are semi-double, and you take this and add it to all the other pretty cool looking double Calibrachoa that are out there, and you have this. And this is probably only 2/3 of the ones that are out there. There are several others out there. So the Calibrachoa in double flowers selection has gotten just enormous. Pretty much anything you can get in a single flower, it seems like now you can get in a double flower. So that's kind of fun. A few new Coleus. These are not my favorite Coleus. These are just the new Coleus. This one's called Flamethrower. The Flamethrower series has been around for a while, and it's known for growing sort of basketball-sized plants and having narrow leaves with serrated edges. The samples of this were sent to me last year, and people really liked it, so I carried it in 2021. It is full sun tolerant, like a lot of the other vegetatively propagated Coleus, not Coleus that's grown from seed. So you can grow it in sun or shade. You could use it in a pot if you have enough room, or use it in a bedding application if you want a basketball-sized Coleus with this type of leaf, sort of interesting variegation. This is also in the Flamethrower series. The last few years, these burnt orange tones have gotten really popular in Coleus. So this one, as you can see, is sort of orange with that purple vein and a lime green edge. The reverse of the leaf is purple, which makes it kind of fun if you're looking up at it or sideways at it rather than down at it. And then this is a new color, a new variety in the Mainstreeet series, which is, you'd think if it was a series, it'd be uniform in size or leaf shape or something. It's a very diverse series that has some varieties that grow 3 feet tall, and then others like this that just grow into a basketball-sized ball, similar to the Flamethrowers with a narrow serrated leaf. And this is also in the Mainstreeet series. It's this dark, rich maroon color on a 3 foot tall plant, grows in sun or partial sun. And if any of you have grown The Coleus called Redhead. I think this one is like right there in terms of how it performs in the landscape and its volume and its size and how bold it is. So it's already starting to cut into the redhead market this year in 2021. So that's called Mainstreeet, Beale Street. And then this is just a freaky little Coleus. You can see it has thread-like leaves, and we are offering this in we picked a whole bunch of super compact Coleus, and we offer them in tiny pots in the miniature gardening area. So people could use them in a miniature garden, or because they stay so small and compact, this only gets like the size of a cantaloupe by the end of the year. Or you could put it into a smaller container combination, but a really freaky leaf shape and some just crazy colors going on in some of these little Coleus. And there's actually a ton more out there that I should be showing you that I'm not. This isn't that exciting, but our I did this because I thought you should know that in the past, we haven't grown much of our own Vinca, but now with our increased production space, we are growing our own Vinca. And I looked at the crop a few minutes before you called me, and we're probably going to bring it out this weekend. We've been really reluctant to bring out things like Vinca that if you say the word cold too loud, you know, near a Vinca, it just curls up and dies. Same with zinnias and quite a few other plants. We'll probably be bringing these out this weekend, and we grew our own, and we're growing the common ones that sort of look like this. This happens to be a new color in the Cora series that we're offering, but we're also growing the tattoos, which have spectacular color combinations like oranges and purples. If you haven't seen those before, the new ones for 2021 aren't that exciting, but the ones that they introduced in 2019 and 20, I think are pretty cool. So if you're willing to wait till things really warm up in your soil, come out and take a look at some of these really cool Vinca that are out there, especially in the tattoo series. These are heat-loving, sun-loving plants that love, they just love heat and decent soil, a little bit of water, and they just go crazy. In the way of dahlias, we have a lot of new varieties. I just thought I'd throw a few in here so you could, well, I want to remind you that there are these beautiful, rich, dark leaf dahlias out there. And although I do have a few new ones, this one is also new, and it's a little different in that it's got a single bicolored flower, whereas most of the dark leaf dahlias have a single colored flower. And you might look at the flower and say, oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. But on a plant like this, I like the foliage even more than I do the flower. So if you've grown dahlias before and you like the flower, check out some of these new ones that we have with this incredibly intense, dark foliage, especially if you grow them in full sun. Dark foliage topped by bright yellow flowers, by bright red flowers, bright orange flowers. And this is a bicolored one called Fuchsia Halo. And this is a dahlia in the Venti series. They added quite a few new colors, and I'm about to show you. This one's called Passion Fruit, which I think I still have some of these left. The flower is big, the plant is big, and the color is spectacular. So consequently, these have been flying out the door. This is Venti Pink with White Eye, another new dahlia that I picked up because I really like the bicolored petals on this one, and same with this one. You can get oranges and yellows and whites and reds and purples and stuff like that, but when you've got a beautiful bicolored petal like this, it really makes a nice effect. So you grow these in sun. You never let them freeze, of course. They love to be fed. They benefit from being deadheaded, and they can bloom for you all summer long. This is a new geranium called Rosalie Antique Salmon. And as you can see, it's sort of unique in that it has multiple rows of petals in each floret. And other geraniums have that too, but this I think has more layers of petals. So it gives it sort of a really nice, almost like a little rose effect for each of the florets. And it only comes in this color right now, but maybe moving forward, we'll pick up some other colors from breeders. Rosalie Antique Salmon. These are just a few series of sun patience mixtures, I should say, that have benefited from some of the new colors, which I'll show you right here. So sun patience are New Guinean patients that thrive in full sun. The flowers are big, the foliage is gorgeous. You can grow them in quite a bit of shade or sun. If you have a bed that weaves in and out of the sun and the shade, you really only have two sets of plants that you can grow under conditions like that. And that would be begonias, because they can grow in sun or shade, or it would be a sun patient. They thrive in the sun. In fact, if you if you have a full sun bed, like I do out here between the sidewalk and the road in front of the Troy store, and you have an irrigation system and decent soil, this could be one of the showiest plants you could possibly grow under those conditions. So they come in all different colors, a couple of which have been discontinued and replaced with these new slightly improved colors, slightly different growth habits in some cases, more intense colors, slightly different colors. This is called Compact Hot Pink, which so far I'm very impressed by. I think our whole first planting's already gone. We offer these in flats and in pots. The pots are kind of big, like a 5-inch square pot. I think we sell those for around $5. And then the flats, you can get 18 of them in a flat for $29.99. So you can cover a lot of ground with these. They don't get that impatiens downy mildew. You can put them over a foot apart because each plant will easily grow 15 to 18 inches wide by the end of the season. All you have to do is put them in decent soil and give them some water and maybe a little sprinkling of love, and they will reward you greatly. So this is a new one called Compact Hot Pink, a new one called Rose Glow, and that's it in the new sun patients. There's a new series of New Guinea impatiens called the Roller Coaster Series. And if you look closely at this flower, you can see that there's extra layers of petals, which isn't really that new. We've had other semi-double blooming New Guinea impatiens in the past, but the Roller Coaster Series, which includes 3 colors, this is one of them, Cotton Candy, has ruffled petals. And these have been very popular so far this year. So that's Roller Coaster Cotton Candy, Roller Coaster Red Racer, and Roller Coaster Valraven Violet. And I did spell that correctly in case you're wondering. So that's sort of a new regular New Guinea impatient. These are the type that thrive in shade or partial shade. Back in the day, we touted these as being quite sun tolerant, but usually we can't keep up on the watering and the sun eventually just bakes them. So you're better off with sun patients if you have a lot of sun. This is our most popular Osteospermum variety, and they've added a new color to the series. So this is called Blue-Eyed Beauty. It's been around for a couple years, and I think where all the other varieties, we only grow 100 or 200. This one, we grow 400 of it because it's so pretty. I still have some of these left. Osteospermum are cool weather loving plants. These, you use this like you would a pansy or a viola. So you would enjoy this in April, enjoy it in May, enjoy it in June when things get really hot. In July and August, it's probably not going to bloom that much for you unless you take it way up north. And then if you're patient enough to leave a non-blooming plant in the garden through the heat of the summer, this will start to rebloom for you in the fall. So this is our really popular one, these beautiful maize and blue flowers. Just kidding, they're white and violet. And then the new one for 2021 is this one here called Sunshine Beauty. Now, this is, I looked at the picture and I said, okay, well, that's okay. I like it. I still thought this one was way better, but it turns out that the color of this is actually quite a bit more intense than what you see in this picture here. So consequently, with this purple center and how it fades to yellow at the base of the petals, this has been pretty darn popular too. So that's our new Osteospermum. Don't count on it in the heat of the summer, but in the spring and in the fall, it could be good for you. And there's a couple new colors of Petchoa. Petchoa is a cross between a petunia and a Calibrachoa, extremely vigorous plants that are self-cleaning. I had a lady from a garden club far away call and order a bunch of these. She said she couldn't find them anywhere else, and I was wondering why she even called anywhere else. But they're really good plants to compete with things that are super vigorous like sweet potato vine in a container combination, and I think that's what she's putting it with, along with a Coleus and a big what's it called? One of those King Tut papyrus in the middle of a giant pot. So you take a really vigorous, vibrant flowering plant like a Supercal, which comes in all different colors. I'll show you here shortly. And you put it in a big pot with like a sweet potato vine, and you get a really nice performance. So Supercal Rose replaced another color in the series. Royal Red is a new color in the series, whose color I really like, but it actually grows a little bit too vigorously for me. And then here you can see some of the new colors from the last couple of years. And if you look closely at this picture, I can't you can't see it all the way over here to the right, but there are some color combinations that are really striking. We grow these in hanging baskets and we offer them in pots and a few in flats as well. Just really, really cool colors for a petunia relative. It's called Supercal because it's sort of like a cross between a Supertunia and a Calibrachoa. It's also called Petchoa because it's sort of like a cross between a petunia and a Calibrachoa. Yeah, I use both names. And depending on where you read or where you look, sometimes somebody uses all of one name and never uses the other. So anyway, these are fun, vigorous, high performance plants if you can tolerate plants that grow this big. A new yellow petunia, touted as being the best yellow petunia on the market, is available, and it's all by itself. It's not in a series. It's called Bee's Knees. So far, I have found that they're very floriferous even when they're young. I don't think they're day length sensitive, so they start blooming early and they keep going till late. It looks like they're self-cleaning. We're offering these in flats and in pots, and we had them in hanging baskets. And so far, I think this might be the best vegetatively propagated petunia on the market, like what they're saying. Keep in mind that if you can't afford to buy these because they're like, $3.99 a piece if you buy individually potted ones, or they're even $2 a piece if you buy them in a super pack. We still have yellow wave petunias that look a lot like this and should perform almost as good. So if you can't afford Bee's Knees for a larger planting, you still have yellow wave petunias. And that was like the standard until this came along. And I threw this in because it was new last year, but it wasn't terribly available. It's still one of our most popular petunias. It's a double blooming petunia that is black with a creamy edge. Those of you who've seen it know what I'm talking about. It's not just a really cool looking flower, but it's actually a good grower. It actually flowers a lot and performs well, which not all double blooming petunias do. So if you get a chance to try this one, grab it and check it out. We have a lot of other really cool new double blooming petunias as well. The selection of petunias today rivals that of Calibrachoa in incredible color combinations. So you've got to see what we're putting on the bench right now. It's pretty cool, other than it's not terribly wild about being covered every night when it's going to frost. It's still not the best thing for your petunias when the weather is down into the 30s night after night after night. And this little guy is just a regular petunia, but with small flowers. But it's not a Calibrachoa, it's not a Petchoa, it's not a Supercal, it's just a small flowering petunia. And it only comes in this color. It's called magenta. And remember I said that I went to a lot of the trial gardens last summer because there was no spring trials in California to go to. At one of the trial gardens that I went to, where you, as soon as you get there, they give you a flag and they say, hey, after you go through the trial garden, put the flag in your favorite plant in the trial garden. And at this one particular trial garden, probably one of the best ones, definitely one of the best ones in the Midwest, if not the country, this plant got more flags than any other plant that was there. It had tons of these super, super vibrant flowers. The plants were vigorous and cascading in these giant window boxes. Very impressive. It's just a petunia, but if you want a lot of color, self-cleaning, really vibrant, and with these smaller flowers, when it rains, they don't look like a giant stepped all over them. They bounce back from a heavy rain a lot bigger, a lot better than the big flowering petunias do. So really good weather tolerance as well from something like this. Oh, and just the fact that it's a petunia tells you, Calibrachoa can be tricky to grow, especially in the ground because they're acid-loving plants. Petunias aren't like that. So you get this kind of cool flower like a Calibrachoa with that good weather tolerance, but it's petunia genetics, so better tolerance of a broader range of pHs. And then you guys all know our number one selling petunias for a couple of years was Night Sky, which is the purple version of this. It's still a really good seller, but a lot of the breeders are playing on that speckled petal concept and adding other colors. This one's called Electric Purple Sky, and there's quite a few others. Unfortunately, I don't have my favorite one in here. Do I? Nope, I don't have my favorite one in here. It's called Crystal Night Sky. And if you've been to the garden center in the last week or two and you've seen it, it's pale blue. It has dark purple veins in the center and it's speckled white. Crystal Night Sky. So if you can see that, check that one out, check it out. So this is Electric Purple Sky. This is Main Stage Glacier Sky, and there's quite a few other ones out there. This is a petunia I've always liked. The flowers aren't big, but they have that cute little heart on them. And I've offered this for the last couple years, and this year they changed the name to Surfinia Heartbeat Improved. So they took a petunia that I already like because of the cute little hearts on the flowers, and they improved it. Now, I think they made it more floriferous. Maybe they tweaked the growth habit a little bit, but it's the same flower, and I really like it. And I can show it to you because they changed it, and it's new for 2021. There's a few new phlox out there. This is not perennial phlox. This is the annual phlox. Some of you might know of the series that Proven Winners offers, whose name escapes me at the moment. It'll probably come to me any second now. But this is a different series called the Giselle series, and there are several colors in this series already, and the new ones are light pink eye, purple, and red, and scarlet. Scarlet is kind of cool because it's orangey, and I don't think we've ever had an orange annual phlox before, but these bloom all summer long. They love the heat. They tolerate the cold. What they don't like is cold, wet soil. So even if you could keep these dry and grow them early in the spring, they would be great out there in the cold, but inevitably we get a lot of rains and then they get cold and then they start to rot. So these are a little bit of a challenge for us to grow early in the season when it's cooler and wetter. But once things warm up, as long as we keep them a little bit on the dry side, when it's warm, they bloom all summer long. They don't require deadheading, and it's sort of a freaky little plant because no one expects a flower like a phlox on an annual to bloom all summer long. So you might want to try checking that one out. And the phlox from Proven Winners, I still can't remember the name, but I'm sure somebody out there knows it. They can remind us at the end, because I do grow some of those. Like they have a pretty one called Cabernet and a couple others, and I like those. So we're very partial to a series of verbena called the Lanai series, which has every good color you could imagine in it, except for this one. So sometimes we stray from a series that we really favor because there's something really cool in a different series. And this one here called Pop Salmon and Red Eye, it's even prettier. It's more orangey in real life than what you see here. We picked this up and added it along with all the different lanais that we're offering. And these are the low spreading verbena that they bloom all summer long, but they do like to be deadheaded. Sometimes they get aphids. You got to watch out for that. They do like to be fed. Just a cool color in a different series from what we usually offer. Okay, in the way of perennials, starting in alphabetical order, of course, we have some ajuga. This is a new series called Feathered Friends, and I'm pretty excited about. You can see in this picture, there's 5 new types of ajuga, but 2 of them look like something we already have. The 2 dark leaf ones look like chocolate chip on the left, and the one on the right looks like mahogany. So if you look at these and you think they're some way different from chocolate chip and mahogany, go ahead and pick them up. But what I think is really cool is the 3 gold and bronze ones on the far left, the center one, and then the far right, because we've never had like good gold or good gold and bronze ajuga. These have the blue flowers that you expect to see on ajuga. They grow in sun or shade. Perennial spring flowers. What else do you need? I think that's kind of all. And so here you see the bronze leaf one. They all have different names, of course. They all start with Feathered Friend, but this is called Fancy Finch. Try to say that really quick. Feathered Friend, Fancy Finch. That wasn't too bad. It still has a blue flower early in the season. And this is the dark one that I think is too much like what we already have. And this is a bright green one called Cordial Canary. And let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, and this is called Nightingale, which is too much like chocolate chip. Oh, and that's it. So I am missing one, aren't I? Yeah, I'm missing the bright gold one on the right. So I don't know what that's called, but we're growing it. 2 plantings. One is here already, and the other planting we just potted yesterday. So that won't be available for another 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so. We sell them in 4.5-inch pots for like $6 or $7. And there is sort of a lot of hype about these, so you can come in and check those out. In anemones, these are fall blooming anemones. We've had short ones in the past, including a series called the Fantasy Series. And this is just a new color in the Fantasy Series. These grow in sun or quite a bit of shade. They're fall blooming, they're hardy, they're compact at only 12 to 16 inches. And the difference between this new one called Jasmine and the other fantasies that we've had before is it's more of a like a bubblegum hot pink instead of a like an orchid pink or a baby pink. So this is more of a hot pink. And this is a new anemone called Satin Doll Blush, which if you look at the flower color, it's not that different, but I like the darkness of the bud before it cracks open and the colors of the stem before that cracks open. It says it's one of the earliest blooming with an extended bloom period. So we'll see how if that lives up to expectations. And then there are a few new Baptisia from Walters, who I trust quite a bit. And I'll warn you that when I show you a new Baptisia for any given year, those plants will be scrawny the first year. So these will probably not be blooming size plants in 2021, but we'll have blooming size plants in 2022 from 2021. So and like the new varieties that I might have showed you last year or the year before, I have mature plants of those from previous years, and that's how I can offer Baptisia in bloom. This one I cannot offer in bloom because it was just released. I can't put it in a pot, wait a year, and then sell it to you. So if you come in and you want to see this flower, it's not going to happen. Well, probably not. So Walters is calling this a color breakthrough because it's not just a purple flower, it's a wine purple flower. And I had to take the risk and pick it up, even though it looks an awful lot like other Baptisia that we've already seen. So if you want this plant this year, you can buy it green, or if you want to actually see the flower, you can come in about 13 months from now and check that out, because that's when they'll be blooming in the pots. And I thought this one was pretty cool. Although there is another one out on the market that's sort of like this. So they're calling this a dark mahogany flower with bright yellow keels. You know, typically Baptisia is a blue flowering plant, you know, false indigo, and it blooms late May, early June. Super long lived, super easy to grow, really pretty growth habit, even when it's out of bloom, interesting seed pods. And so to pick up on a lot of these really cool colors is kind of fun. So that's called Honey Roasted. This is a Blatella striata called Albo Variegata, and Blatella is a terrestrial orchid. And we have an orchid just like this. It has green foliage, but this one called Albo Variegata has the green and white striped foliage. I think I flagged these at the Shelby store about an hour ago to come over here to the Troy store. So hopefully these will be showing up here sometime soon. It is an ephemeral. It comes up, it does its thing, and then it disappears. But it is a pretty cool flower when it's in bloom, and the foliage looks nice, almost like a carex when it comes up in the spring. These thrive in shade or partial shade. They like rich, moist soil, like a lot of other ephemerals. You know, like Trillium and Jack in the Pulpit and Spring Beauty and things like that. This is a new Buddleia in the Lo and Behold series, which has been pretty popular for us the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. It's a compact series. It grows about 3 feet by 3 feet that has other, like a purpley and a blue color. And now we have this ruby one called Ruby Chip. And there's this new golden leafed Buddleia called Gold Drop. And Walters is calling this the best yellow Buddleia on the market. So consequently, they dropped the other golden leaf Buddleia that they've been offering in exchange it for this one called Gold Drop. It's compact at 2.5 feet tall, 3.5 feet wide. You can see a sort of a magenta flower above golden foliage. Like other Buddleia or butterfly bushes, it'll bloom for you like later on in July and August and early September. Of course, the butterflies like it, bees like it, flies like it. And Walters has also added a new color in the Cascade series of Buddleia called Violet. So the Cascade series, unlike a lot of the other Buddleia that have been released the last several years, is big. All the Buddleia that everyone's coming out with is compact, 3 feet, 2 feet, 4 feet at the most. But Walters, the last couple years, has been playing around with this Cascade series, and it's really impressive if you have room for it in the garden, because the flowers are enormous. The flowers are like a foot long, and they're big, you know, like a football big. And so there's 2 other colors in the Cascade series. I think there's a ruby and another purpley one, and now this one's violet, which is like a lighter lavender purple colored buddleia, if you have room for this size of a buddleia. A new Brunnera called Alexandria, not to be confused with Alexander's Great. And they say it's the most silvery Brunnera on the market, but I think there's another one that's just as silvery called Sea Heart, but maybe not. So we'll have to put these side by side and see how it compares. Like other Brunnera or perennial forget-me-not, they have blue flowers in the spring and they do not like drying out in the summer. They want to be in moist, rich soil. They form a beautiful mound that lasts till fall, as long as you don't let them dry up or fry or bake them in the hot sun of the midday. And I'm going to show you these, but they're all gone. These are Cypripedium, other terrestrial orchids. They're kind of pricey, but I've been doing this talk for a while, and so people have come in and nabbed these. Some had flowers, some didn't flower for us, and I'll have them again next spring. But and when I say pricey, these are like around, I think we sold them for like $70 or $79, which I think bare root, they're like 40 or 45 online. So I bought them last year, potted them, and kept them cold and didn't let anything eat them, and they started blooming for us this spring, and so they're gone. So these are some of the different colors. I'm blocking the name of this one, so I can't really see it. What do I do about that? Well, anyway, it's called something Phillips, and this is called Gabriella, and this is called Pinkapank, and this one's called Sabine Pastel, and yep, that's all of them. So these are terrestrial orchids that you can, and if you go up north or even around here and you go into the right park where people don't trample the ground all over the place and there's some nice natural settings, you can find these popping up all over Michigan, not just up north, not just way south, like all around here, if you know where to go. Customers send me pictures of these all the time, and so do employees. They're like, look what I found in the woods, and hopefully they leave them alone, because these are protected plants. This is a delphinium called Red Lark, and we've carried other red delphinium in the past. The flower was scrawny and the growth habit was kind of weak, but they did have a cool color. And they came out with this new one that I thought I should try. They're calling it a Coca-Cola red. So it's not like deep red, but like a orangey pinkish red. And like other delphiniums, it's probably going to be short-lived. It might only last for a few years in the garden, and maybe dividing it could increase your chances of keeping it for a prolonged period in your garden. And they're only, it looks in the picture like they're super tall, but they're only 2 to 2.5 feet tall. I think I just got these recently, which I told them to send them to me in early May, because they're hard for me to grow when the light conditions are low in a greenhouse, because that's what makes them grow soft. So I'd rather pot them up in May and put them right outside and grow them nice and, like stiff and hard, so they look like the picture here. And I think I did 2 plantings. So this is something that we'll have here pretty soon. So if you're like on a garden walk and you want something that's really going to make people scratch their heads, I think this is high up on your list. And I'm not a huge fan of this, because it's a lot like so many other dianthus on the market, but it is Proven Winner's Perennial Plant of the Year. It's a dianthus called Paint the Town Red. It's got blue-gray foliage. The flower does have a scent. You can see it's like this deep sort of cherryish colored flower. They'll tell you it blooms all summer long, but it doesn't. I just wanted you to know I have it, but I do have a lot of other dianthus, some of which are way better than this, like Kahori and that new Scarlet Kahori, and I think there's another Kahori out there. But there it is, your Proven Winners Perennial Plant of the Year. And a few new coneflower. This one I thought was kind of cool, because I thought the petals were a slightly different shape and a really pronounced cone, maybe a little bit more of a natural looking coneflower. And I like the name too, Dark Shadows Wicked, kind of cool. And this one's sort of one of the few goldish ones. We have a lot of yellows and we have a lot of oranges and we have a lot of reds, but we don't have gold. So I thought this was kind of cool. It's called Prima Saffron. And this is a new color in the Sunny Days series, which is one of those types that when the flower matures, it develops this really big round cone with stubbier petals. But I really like the way it looks when the flowers first develop, which you can see like the lower right-hand part of this corner and here as well. So it's a new color in the Sunny Day series, all of which have that same flower form. It opens one way and develops into this really big fat cone. There used to be a series of echinacea called, not a series, a variety of echinacea called Rainbow Marcella that we really liked because the petals were different colors. It was sort of like an orangey pink on the outside and faded to a yellow in the middle. And now they developed a series of Rainbow Marcellas with different colors. And this is called Apricot Rainbow Marcella. You can see the petals are slightly bicolored. And there's another one coming up. Oh, whoops. This one's called, I can't tell. I can't see what this is called. Cardinal something or other back here. I wonder how I could make this go away. I don't know how to make this go away, but that's another new coneflower. And this is another new one in the rainbow series called Yellow Rainbow Marcella. Yellow fades to pink in the center, the big cone. And this one's called Sweet Chili. Another one of those ones that grows a big fat cone. A few new hellebores. Let me think about this. If I have these, I don't think I have these blooming size. I think I have these in the cute little pots for $11.99, which will be blooming size next year. But I'm very partial to the Orientalis type hellebores that have more rows of petals like what you see here. So you guys can keep buying the ones that have single flowers, but I really like these ones with double flowers. So I picked up the whole North Star series, which includes this one called Ruby Heart, and this one called Plum, and this one called Garnet Frills. And so these are double blooming Orientalis type hellebores whose flowers face more down than up, which this picture is a little bit misleading because there is one sort of facing up. And those of you who don't have hellebores, this is another one of those life-changing plants. If you don't have one of these in your garden, when everybody else is like super excited about spring because they've got this incredible bouquet of flowers outside their window in March and early April, you're really missing out. I did this talk for another garden club about a month and a half ago when my hellebores were blooming, and I sent my fiance out and she cut a couple flowers out off of ours, and I showed them to everybody. They were about 4 inches across, and I floated them in water in the kitchen, and they lasted, I'd say 2 weeks. They looked really good, and by the end of the third week, I tossed them because they started fading. But these are really wonderful plants to float in water indoors in a cute little ceramic or glass dish, especially if you have a few different colors that you can float inside there. So hopefully you guys all have your hellebores. If you don't, they're $11.99, and I have well over 1,000 available. Most of those are at the Shelby store where we grow them, but I'll get some more out here pretty soon. And here on the bench at the Troy store, we probably have 100, and there's 200 or 300 more that are the big blooming size here. So the selection of hellebores here is really strong. And there's garnet frills up close, pretty darn cool if you have the right camera to take that picture. And this is one of the new ones in the, not the honeymoon series, but the wedding series called True Love that I really like. It's got that dark burgundy edge that has, and then the beautiful pink petals. I do have a lot of these here. Some were blooming this spring, and of course they were spectacular. They're all done blooming, but you get the idea. A few new heuchera. This is Magma. And if you look at this color, you're like, oh, I've seen corabels that look like that. Well, so have I. And the only reason why I'm showing you this one is because this one has really, really big leaves, like one or two other varieties that have been introduced the last few years. And I like them. This is more of a landscape type corabels. So it really makes sort of a big fat display in the garden instead of a more diminutive one. So you can check that out when you come in. And I'm only showing you this one because it's about as gray as any corabels we've ever offered. And you can see from the image here that the reverse of the leaf is purple. There's a lot of other new corabels out there, but they're just not all that different. These are the two that kind of stand out. Okay, and I said there's new hibiscus out there from Walters. This is the first ever white hibiscus that Walters has introduced out of their breeding program. They've introduced a couple dozen hibiscus in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. The first white ever. I had samples of this last year, and my opinion, it's just okay. I didn't like something about the shape of the flowers, and I don't like that red center. But if you come into the store and you like it, you know, of course, buy it. It does have overlapping of the petals. It does bloom for a long time. It flowers from the top of the plant to the bottom. It's got a really nice growth habit. It's like a beautiful 3 to 4 foot tall and wide uh, growth habit. But if you can find Blue River 2, the old white that's like a pure white, I still think that's a showier plant, especially from a distance in the garden, Blue River 2. And no, I don't think I have it, in case you're wondering. And this one's pretty, this one actually I really like. It's called Spinderella because the flowers, I had samples of this last year too. The flowers are big, the petals overlap strong. It does make a ton of flowers. I think this is a really good plant, but the next one, this one I really like because I love hibiscus that have beautiful foliage even when they're not blooming, and this is certainly one of those. And the flowers are very nice, like a lot of their other hibiscus, you know, flowers from the top to the bottom, the overlapping petals, big flowers, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a really, really good looking plant. But what makes this stand out from all the others, it's only 3 feet tall. All of their other genetics that they've introduced the last, whatever it is, 8, 9, 10 years, they're all 3.5, 4, 4.5 foot tall and wide plants. So this is a really nice compact plant with the gorgeous foliage and with the gorgeous flowers. So for you, those of you who have less space, this could be a wonderful, wonderful plant for you. This is a new hosta called Wind Beneath My Wings that looks so much like the one they introduced last year. I have to show it to you because it's new. And you can come in and look at it and see if it looks any different from that other one that's out there that looks just like this that they introduced last year or the year before. It's one of those proven winter plants, so you got to be careful. You know, I think they feel obligated to keep introducing new plants, even though they're not all that different from what's already out there. So there it is. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay. There's a lot of other ones out there that look just like this or look drastically different that maybe you might find more interesting. This is kind of cool. There's a trend in creeping phlox. They're not blooming any longer, but they are making them with wider petals with a really dense growth habit. Sometimes the petals are, sometimes the flowers are bigger, and a lot of times they flower more densely. So I've got a few of these here, and I really like them. And one of them is this one. No, not that one. Nope. Wait. Oh, anyway, there's a new blue one that I really like that is going to force me to drop emerald blue, which has been a really good one for us for years. And then there's these other pink ones like Ruby Riot and this one here called Pink Sparkles, where you can see they're just covered with flowers. Not that the regular ones weren't, but they're just more densely covered with flowers. In the way of Phlox Variegata, there is something else going on that I'm kind of excited about. They've developed this new series of large flowering, extra compact growing Variegatas called Woodlanders. There's 3 colors in the series that I'll show you here in just a minute. Phlox Variegata typically has smaller flowers, and they come in blue, or they come in pale blue, or they come in almost white, and they are taller at about, I'd say 15 inches and above, and a little spindlier. So I like these woodlanders because of the big flowers on a more compact plant with the wider petals. And so this is woodlander purple. These are for shade, by the way. So most of your other phlox, I think in fact all of your other phlox is for sun or partial sun. These will tolerate shade, not really dense shade, but this is like a woodland type phlox. So they got to get a little bit of light, but they'd be fine like on the edge of the woods or with just a couple 3 hours of sun. So this is the new one called purple. This is the new one called pink. And this is the new one called white. And I think, yep, and that's it. So those are the 3 colors in the Woodlander series. For those of you who want a spring blooming phlox in the shade, and you've already got the other ones, which I really like too. You might want to try some of these for their bigger, wider petals and their more compact growth habit. And I think this might, no, this isn't the last image. This is one of the new hens and chicks from, I forgot the guy's name. I want to say Henley, but it's not Henley. On the other side of the state, the guy that's been making all the chick charms, you guys know who I'm talking about. This is his latest introduction. It's called Citrus Sunrise. The color, so it looks pretty cool in this picture, but like the other really good looking chick charms, this looks best when the temperatures are low. Early in the spring, later in the fall. In the middle of the summer, it looks good. A little bit better than like a lot of your common hens and chicks, but in the fall it shines quite a bit more, and in the spring it shines quite a bit more. So it's something to look like if you're look for if you're into hens and chicks. And then I think this is the last image I'm going to show you. It's a Spigelia from Walters. It's not Walters breeding though, but it's a selection that they're now offering along with Little Redhead, and which is one of the new items from 2020 that I said was really popular for us last year. I did, by the way, just pop these about a month or two ago, so they're not quite ready to sell, but almost. They're just starting to peek their little heads up out of the soil. So the difference between this and Little Redhead is the flower is only slightly different. I think it's a little bit more like a salmony red instead of a vibrant red, but it's also more compact at 20 by 20 inches. Little Redhead, despite its name, is 24 by 24, and this one's more compact at 20 by 20. Other than that, I would say that if you have Little Redhead, I don't think you need Ragin' Cajun, but if you didn't get Little Redhead, maybe you wait until they're both flowering at your favorite garden center and you look at the flowers and decide which one you like the most. And I think, that's all I have for you. So I'm gonna, I'll leave that up on the screen. And now you guys can unmute, and either one person, do you know how you want to do the question thing? Is one person going to give me the questions, or is there a way I can read them? I think
well, we have the chat function open. So if anybody wants to use a chat function to ask questions, I can read them to you. Or, if you see the chat function, the chat window and you want to read them to yourself, go for it. Otherwise too, feel free to unmute and ask away. Now, I did have one question for those Begonia Iconias. Are those as drought tolerant as like the dragon wings, or are those?
No. They are very, very well suited for containers. And if you grew them in the ground, you would probably want to grow them in rich soil and give them a little bit of food. But they're worth that little bit of extra effort.
Okay. And then we had a question from Bev Moss. She asked if you guys were going to be growing the Supertunia Vista series this year.
Yes. Silver, again. And I think one other color that's kind of new, whose name escapes me, but I think I like it. And of course, bubblegum, which is by far our most popular member of the Supertunia Vista series.
Amanda?
Yes.
Craig Smith. I was curious on that Woodlander phlox. How long does that bloom, and is it bunny resistant?
It only blooms for a few weeks in the spring, like the other woodland phlox, but I don't think just being that it's a native, I'm not sure that the bunnies are all that wild about it. I've got one in the display garden about 40 feet away from where I'm sitting right now. And we do have bunnies around here, and they haven't eaten it yet. But maybe if anybody else that's grown Phlox Variegata knows if that's an issue, are bunnies an issue for your woodland phlox? Oh, and I can see the chat now. I see how this works.
Yep. So.
Oh, cool.
And if anybody wants to use the chat to ask a question, feel free to, or feel free to just chime in and unmute yourself. Going back to the Supertunias, do you have a recommendation that is more of a purple color that could compete with bubblegum that has a similar habit to that?
That is a did you see somebody just posted dear love woodland phlox? That's a problem.
Oh boy.
There you go, Craig.
Thanks, George.
Well, yeah, you're welcome. Hey, the only petunia that I know of that could compete with Supertunia, and that's the whole issue with those Vista bubblegums. They just don't play nice with others. So you have to be really, really careful about what you put with it. The Supercal series of petunias that I mentioned earlier is also very, very vigorous. So I think that could handle it. But I've got a better idea. How about if instead of growing the Supertunia Vista bubblegum, you pick up, I have another variety out there. It's either called Color Rush, or if I told you it was Supertunia Vista bubblegum and I held it in front of you, you would all believe me because it looks exactly like, in fact, I think it looks even better than Supertunia Vista bubblegum. And it's also vigorous, but it's not as vigorous. So it's part of a series called the Color Rush series that has other colors that are well, I shouldn't say well, they're perfectly matched in vigor. So if you go into the Color Rush series and pick up the pink that looks like Supertunia Vista bubblegum, you can put a really pretty blue with it, or you could put a really pretty light pink with it, like I do, and make a drop dead gorgeous color combination that I put in hanging baskets all the time.
Okay. And somebody is asking, is the Shelby store still selling to the public, or have you converted to a production only facility there?
No, the Shelby store is still selling to the public, and my son Andrew runs that store, and he does a pretty good job. He could use a few more good people, but he has the advantage of being able to walk a few hundred feet into the back where we grow all this stuff and getting people whatever they want. But unfortunately, he doesn't have he's not stocking that store from the back as well as he should. So he walks about 15 miles a day trying to stock the front of the store until he learns how to get it stocked the right way. Instead of somebody comes in and says, hey, do you have this petunia? And now he's got to go into the back and search for 3 minutes to find it and then haul it up to the front.
And then we have a question from Karen. She has a subdivision sign that is in full sun with no access to water. Do you have any recommendations? She's only had luck with Autumn, Joy Sedum, and Black Eyed Susan so far.
Those are unfortunately really good choices. And unfortunately, so a daylily would be a good choice once it's established, and regular lilies would be a good choice once they're established. Creeping phlox would be a good choice once it's established. And there's a few other plants. And I wonder if she's thinking about annuals, because if she is and there's no water, I'd say the list shrinks down to begonias and nothing else. So in terms of perennials, there's a few things that you could definitely throw out there, and you could do a border of begonias, water it in, when you first plant them early in the season, and then you might have to do 1 or 2 emergency waterings in the summer if we go, especially early in the season before they root out. Late in the spring or early in the summer, a couple of emergency waterings, and that might be all you need to do. But it'd be really hard to beat waxleaf begonias in terms of care in a setting like that.
She says,
You're
thanks.
welcome. Yeah, I see that.
And did anybody else have any more questions for George?
This is Lucy. I was going to suggest maybe yarrow for that kind of xeriscape sort of scenario.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yep. They sometimes get a little weedy looking later on, and then you end up having dividing them or ripping them out after a few years. But yeah, that could be, especially some of the more compact long blooming ones, like that Little Moonshine or some of those other ones like that. And then I think you guys all know this, and hopefully none of you have gotten burned yet, but this weather we're having is just horrible. We've been covering plants and uncovering plants. It's been a real struggle. And people are buying vegetables like it's, Memorial Day weekend. So you guys have to be really, really careful tonight and tomorrow night. And you still, I haven't looked at the forecast in a few hours. Before you dip the shovel into the ground and start planting frost sensitive stuff, check the forecast. for the next 10 days. And like, I see all the way through next Thursday, other than tonight and tomorrow night, which are wicked cold in the 30s around here anyway. And then Thursday night's 41. But after that, we're in the 40s and the 50s, and things look pretty good. But like I said, a day or two from now, if you're thinking about putting the shovel into the ground, make sure you check the 10-day forecast and make sure that we're safe. We've been having all sorts of, we roll everything in at night, we pull it out in the morning, and the stuff that we leave outside, we cover it with frost cloth. We've made a few mistakes and lost a few things. It's been frustrating. Thank God we have a lot more that we can bring out after we ruin them. So this weekend, we're going to try to stock up really heavy to accommodate the masses.
How far behind do you think we are right now as far as temperature versus where we would expect? Like a week or two, or?
Well, no, I would say what's unusual, it's not unusual to have frost in the middle of May, by no means, but it is unusual to have temperatures in the 30s day after day after day, which is what we've had the last week or so. So like a touch of frost here and there, middle of May is cool, but I should say cool, but kind of to be expected. But we've had just so much day after day after day. It's been rough. So like I said, some of our plants have been taking a beating, but I was relieved to see how much beautiful stuff there is still at the Shelby store. So now it's just a matter of getting it here when you're here again and again and again. So.
And then we had a question from Camilla. She's asking if the butterfly bushes that you mentioned, if they are deer resistant.
I don't think so. I think the deer would nip those maybe a little bit early in the season, but later in the season when they have so many other things to devour, you'd probably be pretty safe. And they don't bloom till later in the season when their food supply increases anyway, so maybe you'd be okay. There's a lot of really cool butterfly bushes out there right now. We potted a lot of ours just like a month or so ago, so those will be coming onto the bench here pretty soon. So if you have room for, sort of a bigger plant, because none of them are much smaller than 2.5 by 2.5, you should take a look at some of the cool ones. I really like Pugster Blue, but there's others that are really, really nice out there. Oh, here, what is your opinion of the Pugster series? That's good timing. I really like Pugster Blue. I'm not a big fan at all of the other colors. They're too faded and washed out.
And if anybody else has any more questions, feel free to chime in. I had a question for you, but I'm afraid that I got distracted very easily by the butterfly bushes. So
yeah, that's okay.
I know you mentioned a few of the dahlias in your presentation. Do you still have a good selection of dahlias at your store?
No, I have a phenomenal selection of dahlias. I have I think I tripled my dahlia production from like 1,000 to 3,000 this year. And there's a whole bunch that aren't even going to be here till later on in the month in early June. So our dahlia selection will be really, really strong the next 3 or 4 weeks. And those are just the ones that that's like our core dahlia. We grow it in a 1-gallon pot for like $9 or whatever. And the flowers are beautiful, and some have this spectacular foliage or whatever, but we also have flats of dahlias. Those are grown from seed. We also have cute little potted dahlias. And we also have dinner plate dahlias. And those, all the ones that were blooming that we brought out over the weekend for Mother's Day, they sold. But there's probably 200 or 300 still coming on with their very first flower, and we'll be bringing those out. And those are the ones with the ginormous flowers that, I mean, they're like, they're just big and beautiful and spectacular. And I have a lot of those coming on. So if you want a real specimen, I grow them in a I think it's a 14-inch fiber pot. One of the big issues with Dutch dahlias is in these dinner places, they grow so big, they're really, really hard to handle by the time they're blooming size. So, and I do this with tomatoes and giant sunflowers that bloom all summer long and stuff like that. I put them in a fiber pot, so you don't have to take it out of the pot. You could just drop the pot into a big, beautiful hole, and the pot will disintegrate, and then you don't shock it at all. So it'll continue to do in your garden what ours do in the pot. I see the question, do the double XL dahlias stay neat and tidy? They do. They absolutely do. Oh, how do you get your dahlias to bloom so early? I start them in a greenhouse early in the season. The Dahlia Society has been coming here every weekend since February. And so they stick cuttings here. They pot their tubers here. They have their dahlia tuber sale here. And by getting them going early in a bright light location like my greenhouse, or maybe you have a greenhouse, you get a heck of a head start, and you expand your bloom time through the summer. Oh, I see the question. Do you sell the Itsy Bitsy Petunia? We sure do. Itsy Bitsy Magenta. And that's the only color there is right now. I would anticipate in the next year or two, they'll have other colors, because I think Itsy Bitsy Magenta is going to be a pretty big hit. Although it has to compete with all the Calibrachoa that's out there too. So if it outperforms Calibrachoa, they'll probably start adding colors in that series. How much is it? $3.99, the same price as all of our other potted petunias, except for proven winners. Our proven winners are $4.99 because they charge us. I can't stick a cutting and grow it really cheap like I can other petunias. So I have to buy a liner from someone else, and then that's kind of expensive. And then they make me buy the tag. And next year, they're going to make me buy the pot too. So proven winner petunias and things like that will continue to be $4.99 when all the other annuals are $3.99. And do we have lemon coral sedum? Yes, we do. I think it's $3.99, but I'm not sure.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation tonight, George. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate you scrambling to get here. And I know you have a lot going on right now with.
Yeah, thank you for your patience. I'm going to go back to the Shelby store and try to finish what I was doing.
All right. Well, we will let you go. We know it's a little busy right now. So apparently there's a story with knives.
What I did, I cut the back of my thumb. On the other hand, Jackie, who commented, saw it, and I sliced a couple tendons here, and they had to surgically fix that Friday. But I'll be okay in a month or so, I think.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Well, be careful out there.
It doesn't hurt. It's just so inconvenient when you're trying to load a rack with 40 flats, and instead of grabbing 3 flats at a time, I can only grab 1. It's ridiculous.
At the time of year for that.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Well,
all right.
luck.
Thanks, you guys. Stay warm, and the good weather's right around the corner.
You too. Thank you so much,
George. Thank you.
Bye.
So just wanted to give you one more slide. Our next month meeting is June 8th, and we have Bevan Cohen talking about seed saving. I think that anything else for tonight, Amanda?
I think that should be it. As always, we're going to try and get a recording up probably a few days before we get it out to you guys. But if you have any questions, and I've been trying to take notes to get a plant list of what George talked about. So if you can bear with my typos, I'll try and get that out to you too. So.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good planting. We'll see you on June 8th. Bye.
Bye, everybody.